This is, I think, the one everybody's been waiting for because it's the Ask Me Anything with funders. I'm going to just quickly introduce Lauren Pabst. We've been collecting questions all week, and we took a few more even today. And so this is sort of everything you always wanted to know, but we're afraid to ask if your name were attached to it. So, Lauren is a Senior Program Officer at John D. Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation for Journalism and Media. She's a really long-standing and wonderful supporter of double exposure, and we are so thrilled to welcome her here today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here representing MacArthur, and I just want to say quickly a huge thank you to Diana and Sky and their whole team for putting together such a wonderful event. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Congratulations on 5 years, and in creating this really incredible space for cross-pollination of fields, really important conversations and inspiration. So thank you to you all. So I'm going to ask my fellow panelists to join me on the stage. I'm actually going to walk down to the end to make it a little easier. Yes. And we have a very full panel of very wonderful funder colleagues. Yes, I think I was going to. So we didn't rehearse this part. But we represent organizations that fund in both documentary and journalism. So we're going to try to go, I'm just going to hand this to you because I'm mic rich right now. So many mics. So we want to leave, as Diana said, we have some questions that have been submitted earlier. We want to leave a lot of time as well for questions in the room. But just to get us started and do a little bit of level setting, I'm going to ask my colleagues here to raise your hand if the following applies to you. Raise your hand if your organization primarily funds journalism or funds journalism. Raise your hand if you fund documentary. Okay. Do you fund organizations primarily? Do you fund documentary projects? How about individuals through fellowships? If you're a documentary project funder, do you fund development, production, impact and engagement? Okay. And raise also your hand if you have become a funder or representing a funder in the last 5 years. Okay. If you become a funder in the last 5 years. Yeah, okay. So that's just a little bit of who's on our panel. So what we're going to do is get a little deeper than that, and I'm really inspired by this event and the conversation that was just before us about transparency. So we're going to endeavor to be as transparent as possible about the funding process as we see it and as we represent it, because understand that it's often a very opaque and confusing part of the field, but a very important one for the work that's we're talking about over the next few days. So I'll start. The MacArthur Foundation Journalism and Media Program has the goal of supporting accurate, just, and inclusive news and narratives that inform, engage, and activate people in the U.S. to form a more equitable society. So we do that through funding nonprofit newsrooms that do investigative global reporting. We fund nonfiction multimedia storytelling organizations that re-grant MacArthur funds to film projects and multimedia projects, and we have a new focus on participatory civic media that ranges from supporting media-based activism and organizing to youth media. And through those 3 parts of the program, we hope to represent the ways in which people are creating media, in our current moment. So another word about that is that a few years ago, MacArthur shifted from funding documentary projects directly to funding organizations. So we have about 15 organizations that do support individual projects and makers through fellowships and grants. And in the interest of full disclosure, MacArthur supports Firelight Media on this panel, the Pulitzer Center on this panel, and Working Films on this panel. So just to give you a little...
IDA.
Sorry, insight... And IDA, excuse me. How could I forget?
Thank you.
So the funding landscape is an ecosystem. Thank you. That's kind of you. These are high chairs. And we're happy to talk more about that as well, but I will pass the mic to my colleague, Leah.
Hello, thanks, Lauren. So my name is Leah Trusty. I work at a private foundation called Democracy Fund. We're just a few blocks that way, I think. So we fund things that sustain a healthy American democracy. We have a governance team, an elections team, but I work primarily with our Public Square program, which is all about creating a healthy fourth estate that is representative of the diverse communities across the country, that is really centered on local news, sustainability. We do a lot of work around mis and disinformation as well. But the portfolio that I focus on is essentially on increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion in journalism. So primarily we fund organizations, a lot of field building associations, National Association of Black Journalists, Hispanic journalists, so places where freelancers especially can come together in fellowship, a lot of training organizations as well, so groups like the Ida B. Wells Society, the Maynard Institute. So this is definitely a different field for us, but very closely related, especially when we get to the importance of investigative work and holding powerful people to account. So very happy to be here.
I'm Wendy Ettinger. I'm one of the co-founders of Chicken Egg, and we're 15 years old. We fund women and non-gender conforming documentarians who create artful films towards the wish of wanting to catalyze change. We have many programs that focus on first and second filmmakers, that provide finishing funds. It's across the board. You can look on our website. Then I also co-founded an equity finance fund for women narrative directors called Game Changer Films in 2013. We're going to it was a closed fund, so we're going to be rebooting in 2020. But again, that's using equity, and again, it's looking towards films that can catalyze change, though not heavy on the social justice, kind of sneaking it in there. And then I serve on the Educational Foundation of America and the Edger Foundation, which we fund organizations like Working Films and some regional film festivals, essentially with the idea of expanding equity and opportunity for those who aren't strategically located nationally.
And I'm Natalie Applewaite. I'm the managing director of the Pulitzer Center. We're a nonprofit journalism organization that was founded in 2006. Our mission is to raise awareness of underreported global issues. We like to joke it's sort of the broccoli of the news. So things like water and sanitation or food security, climate change, issues that are just not getting the attention they deserve, or at least not in the depth that they deserve. And so we support both freelancers and staff journalists. Sometimes we partner directly with media outlets, but the majority of our grants do go to freelancers. And it's a rolling process. We end up supporting around 150 projects a year. So there's a lot of underreported stories these days. And also, in terms of documentaries specifically, what we're interested in are short pieces. They can be longer, but really the key is stories that have a distribution plan in place. So we want to see work. We partner a lot with PBS NewsHour, with New York Times OpDocs, Vice, The Guardian. So we want to see an output in the near term, but we've seen with a lot of the projects that we've supported that those go on to become long-form films that make the festival circuit or are used in educational contexts. And yeah, it's a budget is around between 5 and 15 for our average